Trump came back like the Terminator, canceling everything he could to prevent tough restrictions from Biden and promised to end the Russia-Ukraine war. It probably can't be done in 24 hours. Factories are burning in Russia. The war is returning to their territory. We know how to force peace on the enemy. Political technologist Boris Tizengausen is with us. Good to see. Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. We started with symbolism. Bilogodoma's website and YouTube are changing. America is turning back, as Trump promised, citing that the golden era of the United States had begun and the previous 4 years were bake-like. The pompous inauguration, as fried by politologist Volodymyr Fisenko, is remembered by Melania's hat and Musk's shoes. Trump will remain in third place. We all followed the colorful and grandiose footage of the inauguration. Trump's inaugural speech was not the pinnacle of oratory, but the emphasis was on America, it seemed to me. He did not mention Ukraine, but said that he would be a peacemaker, end the war, and make the army strong. On the first day, dozens of orders were signed, revising citizenship rules, pardoning prisoners, the death penalty. Boris, what did you see from Trump's first words and actions? Yeah, there was no sensationalism, because Trump had already said everything in press conferences, which he then repeated in his inauguration speech. Musk, with his bizarre gesture, just ruined everything. The inauguration wasn't meant to be remembered as a gesture so that everyone would discuss afterward whether it was from the heart to Mars or something else. If Elon Musk thought the gesture was right, why did he then on X, Twitter, post the snippet without it?
Этот жест правильный абсолютно, он там какой-то салют, не знаю, что-то еще, скаутский жест, то зачем потом он на своей соцсети X или Twitter разместил фрагмент, где этого жеста не было?
There was an interruption, and showed. What was that now?
Да, вот. Это что такое сейчас было?
I don't know. Some will say inclusion, some will say that a lot, but Boris has already compared this gesture to neo-Nazis and Russian neo-fascists. They say their leader called me the Russian Musk and asked me for money for some kind of technology mansion. They're happy on both sides. Irina, I think Musk himself confirmed that he has Asperger's syndrome, an autism spectrum disorder. I think famous people sometimes make up a syndrome to justify odd behavior. Many people were outraged. It's not a gesture for an inauguration, even though it was very much wanted. It looked weird. It reminded me of a situation where you want a wedding to be remembered beautifully, but some relative picks a fight and then burns down the restaurant. And that's how she'll be remembered, without beauty. It seems that for all of Musk's brilliance, Trump will get rid of him quickly. You can see why. This day was supposed to be Donald Trump's day. That's it. I'm here. America's golden era. I've raised the most donations, 200 million. Invited guests, lots of people, and discussing the wrong things. Let's take a look at what Donald Trump has been saying. A state of emergency has been declared. Now the army will close the borders and the fence will continue to be built. It's important for Trump to leave behind something massive, both the Hoover Dam and the Trump Wall.
такое фундаментальное большое строение, как у Гувера, дамба Гувера есть. Вот стена Трампа будет здесь.
It will symbolize U.S. protection from migrants, crime, and drug trafficking. It's a good initiative, but there's a nuance. It takes a lot of money to deport illegals. That's tens, and by some estimates, hundreds of billions. The second point, we will flood the world with cheap oil and gas, fill the storage facilities, and become leaders in the energy sector. There are nuances here too. Even if Trump throws out Biden's green agenda and starts developing new fields, I will give licenses and shorten the time frame for issuing them. Licenses can be issued, but it will take years from obtaining them to the development of the field. You can't just start drilling and selling oil right away. No, it's exploration and a host of other activities. By the time they start drilling and pumping oil, Trump's cadence may already be over. Could come again, Democrats with a green agenda. There's a lot of moments here. Nothing has been said about Ukraine. Let's start with another war. Hopefully the ceasefire will last and the hostages will go home. I'm about Israel and Hamas. Hamas leader confirmed that Trump played a key role in signing the truce. He has leverage, good relations with Netanyahu, and generally in the region too. It stressed me out that Trump was reminded of how he promised to end the war in 24 hours when he signed the first executive orders. He replied, "I still have half a day left." What kind of joke is that? He keeps saying things that aren't true. He realizes he won't end the war in 24 hours. Maybe 30 to 50 days in advance, but he still says, "I still have half a day." It's a little disturbing, how to put it politically correct. The audience understood. As for the promise to end the war quickly, Peskov said Putin would not congratulate Trump. It's a hostile country. He and Lukashenko were probably competing to see who would congratulate first. Donald Trump said, "Yes, I will be meeting with Putin." Why wouldn't I? Of course I will. Legalizing a ghoul to talk to and give in to. Ending the war by any means necessary would have been a long time ago. We could surrender territories, not join NATO, downsize the army, and so on. I'm about not having extra stuff, even though there will still be some. Today, Marco Rubio talks about possible actions by both sides. The new U.S. Secretary of State also notes that the war will not end quickly, and name specific steps. Let's take a look and discuss. We want the war to end, and that is understandable. Trump aspires to be a leader who will bring peace and stop conflicts. But it will be difficult. To end the conflict, the parties must be willing to make concessions. We won't get ahead of ourselves. These issues should be handled diplomatically, not publicly. The final decisions will be made by the participating countries themselves, both Ukrainians and Russians. This will be a priority for the president. Some preparatory steps have already been taken. Russia is the aggressor in this conflict, but the war must end. That's the complexity of foreign policy. Yes, I would have talked to Zelensky, but he said he wanted to make an agreement. Zelensky wants to make an agreement. I don't know if Putin wants that, but he has to make an agreement. I think he will. Destroy Russia if he doesn't make an agreement. Russia will be in big trouble. I hope Putin and I will have a good relationship. I wish he was willing to make an agreement. Russia could be in for some tough times. Are there ultimatums to Putin, or are the scenarios in the new Belomu? The ultimatum plan, Trump said? I'm not the one who will ruin Russia with sanctions. Putin will do it with his own hands. Everything is clear here. The question is Putin ready? We've already said he's seen Trump as president and can sit this one out. Tighten your belts. China will help. China and India are willing to abide by U.S. sanctions. If sanctions are tough, Putin will find it harder to fight. There will be less money, and he won't be able to get components for weapons. Will he be able to fight in this mode, less frequent shelling and offensive? If he has the help of Kim Jong-un and his troops. Will Putin outlast Trump and negotiate with the new administration? Trump wants to do things quickly and is right in saying the Russian economy isn't doing well. Buckle up. You won't get bored, but that's a problem because she always wants movement. He's bored there, so both sides will be forced to compromise. What compromise? It's along the battle line. This is a clear compromise that I see in what I hear and read. Yes, things are bad with Russia's economy. Inflation, as Trump mentioned. About Putin's aides, as we speak, it has become known that Putin and Xi Jinping spoke via video link. Reported by China Central Television. No information yet on whether they discussed Trump's inauguration. I think Putin requested this call after China's stopped letting in Russian tankers hit by sanctions. And there's a fair amount of oil accumulated there. Putin immediately requested the call because nearly 200 tankers were hit by the sanctions. China wasn't too worried about European sanctions. When Biden passed the sanctions package, everyone fussed, including India. So now they've deigned to talk to Putin. The Kremlin requested the call almost a month ago, as early as last year. Xi Jinping immediately spoke to Trump. With powerful people, of course you can. Especially when they shut down TikTok in the US. So I think Putin and Xi Jinping had a chat, especially after Trump's inaugural address. There are probably already plans in place, and Xi Jinping will push Putin to sign a ceasefire. If there is a tough new sanctions package or a trade war with China, problems will arise. Trump, by the way, has no intention of starting this war. He intends to blackmail, but not start a war, because China and the US are serious trading partners. China is putting pressure on Putin because its share of the Russian economy is 40%, while Russia's share of the Chinese economy is less than 4%. Russia supplies raw materials, while China supplies sophisticated goods such as optics and electronics. China, for the first time, displaced Kamaz on the Russian market with its trucks. Who matters to whom and at what level? I think C. Given the nearly 1.5 billion population, it is more important to think about money and the economy than to support Russian dictator Putin. Speaking of another dictator helping, we're already in that realm. Trump called Kim Jong-un a tough nut. Earlier, Trump called him a different name, and Merkel said the Republican allegedly admires Kim's strength. But now, during a video call with U.S. troops in South Korea, your channel reports, "I think you have somebody with bad intentions, although I have a good relationship with him." A team of Republicans is considering restoring direct talks with the North Korean dictator to reduce the risks of war. Trump has met with Kim Jong-un more than once in his first cadence. It has not yielded anything. But through cooperation with China, an interesting point emerges. Donald Trump arranged a private meeting with Kim Jong-un. Everyone thought World War III was going to start. Then both Trump and Kim Jong-un benefited. Kim Jong-un has gone from a regional nuclear threat to a global evil and a place of honor in the club of dictators. Trump prevented a war that didn't start. In his inaugural address, Trump said it's not just the current wars that matter. I want to go down in history as a peacemaker, preventing wars that didn't start. It would be possible to get Kim Jong-un to sign something, such as a non-aggression agreement, and attribute the improvement in relations between the Koreas to a reminder of his past actions. I prevented another war. Give me a medal for preventing war. But objectively, these treaties strengthen the Dictators Club.
То, что закольцовывается диктаторский клуб вот этими договорами о стратегическом партнерстве и сотрудничестве, это усиление клуба диктаторов.
If, at least temporarily, they are appeased as Trump thinks they will be, that can be chalked up as a plus.
То, наверное, это можно себе в плюс записать.
Dictators like Putin, Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping, Khalifa, Lukashenko, Maduro have ruled for decades.
Си Цзиньпин, кто еще, Аятолла Хаминеи иранский, Лукашенко, Мадуро, они правят десятилетиями.
They'll sign now, and then when the Democrats come in, there'll be a war. You take Taiwan, I'll take something of mine. They think in other time frames. They rule for the rest of their days, but those days seem to be numbered. We continue to legally attack military installations on Russian territory, despite the change of power in the White House. An aircraft factory and high-rise buildings were burning in Smolensk due to air defense forces shooting down drones. Smolensk governor said Ukrainian drones were attacking and shooting something down. The Russian Defense Ministry said it shot down 10 drones. But with what? Apparently, an aircraft factory. Kovalenko noted that strike drones attacked the Smolensk aircraft plant at night. The plant manufactures and modernizes military aircraft, including Su-25 attack aircraft, as well as overhauls and maintains aircraft. This is the second aviation plant in 2 days. The day before, the Kazan plant was attacked. Is this a good trend? Yes, plus the strikes on the Rosreserve base Kristall in Engels. These two, the Russians, if I remember correctly, cannot produce. That's all they have left from the Soviet era. And our Western partners should think about this. They have less and less time to make an attack on NATO countries impossible or greatly reduce its risk. Key enterprises of RF military-industrial complex must be put out of business. A unique chance to incapacitate without the involvement of your hands. Naturally, everyone is very worried at the moment. I have already spoken to my American and European colleagues. We've all realized it's time to call it a day. Let's find a compromise. Something. There isn't a belligerent mood like there is at the end of 2022. Because that's it. Trump said, I'm going to end the war quickly. Why plan budgets if the war is going to end quickly? I am talking about aid budgets for Ukraine. We have reliable partners who are helping. I found Biden's recent interview on CNBC like a diamond. Where he ranted about his conversation with Putin. And two things were of key interest to Putin. Didn't Ukraine hide a couple of nuclear warheads? That's the first question. The second question, will Ukraine be given nuclear weapons if Putin launches massive aggression? Putin told Biden, I realize you can hit me from Ukraine. Then naturally, he'll be in trouble. Biden reassured him there are no nuclear weapons in Ukraine. Biden said, we will not give her anything. Putin replied, you hold on too. we won't let you conquer territories. Putin says, okay, thank you for the information. The only thing holding Putin back was the presence of nuclear weapons. I think this snippet of the Biden interview is the whole point. In the next 10 to 15 years, there will be a country in the alliance that prefers Russian gas to democratic values and will block Ukraine's path to NATO. The transfer of nuclear weapons and the threat of a strike is, in my opinion, a stronger safeguard than any NATO. There it is, the language of the Force. Boris, thank you for your comments. See you later. Take care. Boris Tiesenghausen, a polytechnologist. Friends, subscribe to his YouTube, Tiesenhausen, in big blue letters. There's a link below this video. Take care of yourself. Believe in the armed forces of Ukraine. We will win.